So at 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise, we'll do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption, yes, doesn't look like you have any. We didn't add anything to the agenda.
I think there were some names we needed on the personal action report. Yeah, Kevin Frizen, CPE construction. I think we wanted to add a contribution in there. No, that's it. That's in the information. Okay. We add that name.
Well, we don't have the personal, there's nobody on the personal action.
Right, we just want to add Kevin to that list as our add it for you guys' approval for the CPE construction tech teacher.
So we're ready to make that decision.
Yeah.
Is there a second add? Okay, appreciate you do the personal action for us.
That's 0.5 FTE. Yeah.
Mr. Rager?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Anybody else? Mr. Rager?
Yeah.
Okay, 1.5, that's great. Yes.
I'm good with the OPA conference and go out.
Showed up to straighten us all out.
Here is a list. Ms. Erie?
Mine is just, the work with titles of the characters. Time to get, on the project for and just whether that would be all.
Oh, went to training in June with some staff. It was marvelous. They raved about it and, pretty incredible, unexpected, truly nice experience, which was Nicholas forever. That was pretty fun. Avid let us their trivia night, so we found another one somewhere else.
Weren't you there for Avid?
Yeah, but they filled up, like, they wouldn't let us in, so. That were hopeful. And then just coming back, the last 2 weeks, that's not 2 weeks up, but, I think one of the best things for the summer, starting in June is learning, community over Gmail and learning to communicate, made us really effective in what we do, so appreciate that.
Well, there's a bunch of things. I'm sure you guys stole my thunder there a little bit because it's amazing what Vitus and the subcontractors have done in 10 weeks. Truly phenomenal. Cannot believe the things that they've been able to, when they're throwing a curveball, they hit it. And so that's been pretty impressive. But I guess my good to great tonight is that I've had a whole summer to contemplate, reflect, think about direction for our district this year. And I've really sought support to try to frame some thoughts around comprehensive planning and what's the way to tackle this. And so we pulled in a bunch of different information just to help me make a template, and we're working on this template, and there's some subheadings that are part of it that are going to be part of our in-service. It's going to guide our in-service even and guide our work this year that I think is really exciting. Today we have an elementary kind of get together for a potluck lunch, just to get together and talk through the excitement of the year and say hello to everybody. And I got to talk a little bit about pieces of that with individuals today. And I'm just super stoked for the school year. I just think we're gonna be the best year ever, and there is an attitude amongst our staff that really feel like that too, so, so I can't wait for our board breakfast to talk about this and to really kind of culminate, the thought processes and the effort that me and some other people have put in to try to put this together and make it meaningful and impactful for our school district. So, that's my.
This-
Thanks. Yeah, the green. Look good.
Got a couple. The, starting up at the archery at the wrestling. It was nice to see those get kicked off out there with them. And then the other one is, I couldn't find anything wrong in the. It was a two-bladed sword. At one side it was neat, and on the other side it was bad. It makes me feel like I'm not really good.
Yes, you gave government bills for something, one extra space.
Just a test.
You did a good job, Carol. I appreciate that.
Mike did great sports, wrestling, there's 23 kids out there for 3 days at camp. I think there's 13 high school volleyball done ladies. And then today the count for middle school is 24 that plays middle school volleyball. So a very busy sports season, but it's kind of cool. They're excited that high school is hosting a middle school volleyball camp on Thursday. So it should be fun to get on.
Incredible.
My good to great is I'm excited to start my second year. It feels, I don't know, it feels pretty amazing. I'm off in my little office separate from everyone, and several people have made a point to come by and I'm like, what do you need? Like, I say, hello. Like, so I'm starting to feel like part of the team.
Right, it was a kid, but I was that out there, and it's like, I'm excited to pull the people. It's not a good stuff. Usually, right?
Yeah.
I thought they put most of it out there so that I couldn't go through on it.
My good grade is just, I am very proud to sit on the school board with the people that work with. Appreciate all of you being respectful of your hard work. Read about, so I'm really glad I have this one. And I really like the work.
Okay, consent motion 2.1, 2.2.
We will do approve the consent motions.
Motion second.
Great.
We'll start with Mr. Williams.
Yes.
I vote yes, Ms. Baker.
Yes.
You vote
Yes.
Mr. Ray. Yes. And 3.1 superintendent comment.
Hey. All right, I'm gonna try to be short, like I always am. Yeah.
I'm gonna get your report.
There's so much going on, it's crazy. I'm highlighting some of the things that have kind of, we've been working on through the summer. I could speak to those, but some of that stuff will come up in the middle of some other things. I just want to give a shout out to labor and the relationship that we have, we built with our labor, our union, and, it was really refreshing to come to them and say we have something that we could offer back to some employees and that red tape wouldn't get in the way of it. And we wrote an MOA and, in fact, I believe that's been finalized, and with one signature will be finalized tonight, that we have a 1-to-1 agreement, with industry or by being able to hire industry back people that for CTE positions that are not traditionally teachers, they'll be able to move them down into column one on the pay scale and become more competitive in pay. I can tell you that the CTE construction tech building position was unfillable. And still unbelievable that we found, I believe, the right person in Kevin to take that on. Which I can't even believe it. And it just came out of the blue. I was sitting right in front of me with a volunteer application. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is him. And called him and he was gracious and like, holy cow, this is my dream job. And so, and he was in a position with his business to be able to take it. So to be able to offer him a little bit more compensation to make it viable was good. We have Ethan Pomeroy will be here tomorrow, and we'll be taking down these trees out front Wednesday through Friday. Kind of a big deal, but we'll probably get. I hope we don't have too much squawking, just know that they're safe trees. But anytime you start taking down big trees, one, it's dangerous. Two, it becomes emotional for a lot of people. And so, but we are going to remove 5 trees out front. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the Southern Oregon Career Center. And we have one student that is going to go to that, and basically, it's creating a regional center around our student is going to be enrolling in the medical end of things with the CTE Regional Center. They had this goal, they had this private donor that gave millions of dollars to try to find a facility. At the end of the day, they couldn't really find a facility that met the needs of the 3 programs of study that they wanted to put together that really none of the high schools were viable with in the region. And so what they did was they broke up these programs into different sectors. For instance, the medical assistant program that our student is going to enroll in with them, it's a 2-year certificate program. It works with the first thing that she'll get her EMT1. The second year she'll get her EMT2 along with her medical assistant certificate from RCC. And it costs us money. It costs a percentage of her ADMW to enroll in this school, but it fulfills a pathway that we can't fulfill here with the support of the students' parents to be able to drive off the hill every day and go to class. The class that she will be attending every day it's a half-day program, so it'll be a half day there, half day here. So it'll be a morning down on the hill, and then she'll come back and she'll finish a day here on campus by taking other required classes for graduation. The particular program that she's in is going to be at Ballet Immediate Care. It's going to be housed at a working clinic. And so the experience and the exposure to all the things medical will be greatly enriched because of where they're hosting it. So
Those will be able to work for part.
potentially she could, potentially, as a volunteer, if she chooses to do so. But I will tell you the partnerships that this regional center has created. Brad Carpenter was the head of it, and they're pulling in some big name partners like Asante, even Regents, and Providence. Providence is involved as well on the medical end of it. So it'll be interesting. It's just a pilot program. We'll see how it goes. If for the right kid, it might be a good fit. We don't know. She may go and say, hey, this isn't for me, and pull back from it, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. But we're pretty excited about see what happens here.
Was she gonna be able to maintain her credits for graduation?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, for sure. The entryway out here, we had to pause some things, because we're working on the tin can and finishing that and getting that art room, completed, because Katie's gonna, be moving to the, we call the tin can. It's the old wrestling room down, or weight room down by the gym off of the ag room there. We're putting a drop ceiling with LED lighting in there and shoot rock it and making it an art room. And it's actually larger than her room up here. It's gonna be nice. There'll be an opportunity to do some gallery stuff down there that maybe she would do up here, collaborating with the CTE programs. As she's gonna have a program of study with media, I could imagine her and Peyton could do some really cool things with the metal shop and art, so it'll be kind of a cool deal down there. And let's see here, generators, we're hoping to have generators by the end of September. We've looked at Cummins generators, it's not out of the realm yet, but it's unbelievable what a diesel generator that's three phase costs. So we're gonna probably end up having to go propane. We're just gathering numbers, and that takes a ton of time, believe it or not, from different people. And we're working on it. As soon as I have those numbers, I'll, of course, gonna share them with you and let you know where we're at there. And I think that's pretty much, yeah, for me. That was pretty short. 4:32.
Middle school, high school.
All the work we've been doing for, aligning and mapping to see what, we sat down in the spring to look at what do you teach? How's it aligned with standards? Because we're getting ready to prioritize them so that we can align, and the end goal is to have standards that build upon each other from the elementary school all the way up through high school, so that we're not scrambling to cover a whole bunch of stuff and just go 1 inch deep and a mile wide. That we can go really deep in the things that we're doing, and the product of that has been it's something I was telling as well. If we sit down and map this stuff out, what we're teaching the first quarter, this process will get a little bit easier. We'll plan the second, the third, and the fourth. Then we can look at all of those and look at state assessment data, things like that, prioritize and align. And in speaking with people, and there's been a lot of excitement around sharing those plans. Folks that have got it down now are excited and they feel ready and prepared now. And so that was the secret goal, was to have somebody come to work with 6 or 7 reps and feel like they can handle it today, handle it. And so a lot of the things that folks have been sharing with me over the last month have been pretty incredible and pretty exciting. One of the other exciting things tied to that is we discussed how we were going to report grades to parents and students. We have a grade book that will be consistent in the secondary, well, all the way across the board. So you'll know what some people graded, check your students' thing. You'll know a check for understanding the means and what it's worth. Trying to raise your grade, you'll know where to put your energy to get the most out of it. That's exciting. Feedback from kids and parents and even staff to come up with a consensus of how we want to report this, how we want to calculate this. And LDL has made that happen. So, and then the teachers have also had their grade books loaded in the secondary with the standards that they'll teach the building. Like you can put in the drop down in your ticket and calculate. And one of the really neat things is to have employment standards. So which to all of us would be like citizenship back in the day. Those citizenship grades do have an option to if to average them by all classes. So if Mr. Stone had a class, and Mr. Wetzel had a class, and the student was always on time for Mr. Stone's class and was ready to go and demonstrated, you know, high level, but not so much in another class. Those would average out for that part of the career for those standards. So that was pretty exciting. I think a lot of people would be excited about having that option. To live with that. One of the other, cool and exciting things was we were scheduling students for classes based on what they selected prior to leaving school in the summer and spring. And the middle school wheel that we inserted last year for the electives, the rotating electives, where they rotate, that informs students. So some of our classes that typically haven't been loaded full of kids, like horticulture, was struggling to have, you know, more than 5 or 7 kids in it all the time. So many of the middle school students that were exposed to horticulture or ag wheel decided to be part of that. So yeah, we had no trouble balancing the 3 kids really didn't want to go. That was pretty exciting to see the product of that one. And then one of the things that we're going to add to advisory this year is enrichment. And I believe I sent something out on this before, but it's 2 adults teaming up to have some type of enriching activity that they participate in with kids. So some will have like board games, some will have like a pottery, some will have, you know, different things to attract different interests. But the goal was to build relationships intergenerationally and have face-to-face time, which was the new executive order on cell phones. So probably facilitate face-to-face time without face screen time. So those that's the report. I don't know if I can remember it over, but
So are you gonna continue doing the wheel collectives?
yeah, we continue to do the deal. We didn't make it by quarter this time. We have it by semester. So they'll have 3 years of middle school. They'll be able to cover all of those by the time they get to high school. They'll be able to make a decision of decided present. And again, I'm very excited. One of the things that I left out was I was telling Lacey last Monday, like, don't sweat this construction class thing. I was like, we're blessed up here. Something always good comes along, something always good will happen. And 10 minutes later, it's on the phone. I'm really excited about this being science piece of that and the skills and relationship piece that he has to offer. I'm excited about that. You know, because of volunteer coach and so it's homework. Cool.
I only have a couple things, not terribly huge. The first one is we did hear from the state about the comprehensive literacy grant, and we did not get awarded the grant. The feedback was really positive. They liked our plan. It's just, it was our standing in ranking. We started at 75th and they were only awarded 50th. But the outcome of that did a lot of neat things is it let us focus on, well, what do we want to improve and how do we want to get things moving? How does that fit in with what Greg's doing and what Dave's doing to like build professional development and that sort of thing? All the way from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and I think we have a really neat focus going forward. So I don't at all see it as waste of time. I think we did really good with that. And then the other one was I'm excited about comprehensive planning and here partnering with Day so that we can kind of my big project for the next couple of weeks is how do we do a crosswalk? So we take the things we've done with accreditation and integrated planning and help inform that, like fill it out. Where does this fit with everything we're going to do?
Financial.
July 31st, financials in your packet, report was pretty quiet month, we followed payroll. If you compare expenditures, the main issue is I'm just waiting on the finalized invoice, so that's why expenditures are down month to date versus this year to last year. Because we're fully looking at those to be before. So just waiting on that finalized bill, so that'll probably, the next week, when that hits, the nearest variation there again, so. Just some things there, beginning to kind of balance the revenue that is kind of figured out, it's an audit. So we're at 100% of what we budgeted. Good place to start. And other than that, enrollment, this doesn't reflect, this was just as of end of year, it does not reflect any changes to enrollment for this coming year. So, just that there. Acuity was on site and also went through note yesterday, they finished all their field work, to be exited in view. I think the draft is in the weeks or so, and then they'll still come there as far as the.
We know approximately what, is, right?
Kind of, just because we, pre-registration, we're roaming around 210 right now, but it's early. And so we'll see where,
Is that homeschool and Virginia work?
I do, to be honest with you, I'm not sure, because Lacey didn't say that. I asked her today and she was right, we're rolling right around 210, but she didn't talk about homeschool. I think that was just for our school district. Yeah. And at homeschool, I think there's like 14, I think there's 14 in the homeschool program, because we pulled some kids back from homeschool back into school. But, so we'll make a push, we'll find more bodies. We had 10 new enrollees in July, which we never had. So.
Brand new.
Yeah. Well, not totally brand, I think there was like 6 of them that were totally brand new, but kids that have come back.
Three's a good number.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that there's, we're here last week,
Yeah,
only the last
yeah, absolutely.
Thursday. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, the next week we'll be telling, I'm sure we'll get a bunch more. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the Rogan plot, the Upper Road Independent, we put a flyer in there in terms of recruit kids and families to the school district. I posted 20 flyers downtown, in Medford, Central Point, Eagle Point. Even so much so that the superintendent's meeting, Andy heard about it. So, he mentioned something to me about it. So I get down to Eagle Point, posting flyers all over the place. Good move. So, yeah, I chuckle about it, so.
Good question.
We're doing it Facebook.
Oh, yeah, we're on social media, yeah. Yep.
Any questions on the financials or? Purchase. Okay. On to informational personnel report.
Yeah, we have 3 resignations, classified resignations this month. Sarah Ann Grayson, she left, she was an assistant, classroom assistant. Amanda Wetzel has also resigned from her classroom assistant position to attend school full time. And then Tom O'Neill was a boys basketball assistant, and he moved his family to Kentucky. So they left him for the first 3 that I need to be aware of.
Summers.
I'll let Greg talk a little bit about high school and middle school with summer school, but I think, those numbers were low because we didn't have a ton of those kids that were in credit retrieval, and we didn't have a ton of middle school kids. I think I did hear that the middle school, all the kids that started needed that requirement of finishing in middle school. So that was good. Stacy Matos, she's like a watchdog. She was calling them every day if they didn't show up. In elementary, I wanted to read a couple of things to from our two elementary teachers. This is from Megan. Summer school this year was a huge success with multiple kiddos who were non-readers at the beginning who started to read by the end of the session. And then she goes on to mention 4 kids specifically and how they shined as leaders and strengthened their reading skills. And then a special needs student came in the first couple of weeks and was like a classroom assistant, and was exposed to enrichment activities with literacy. I was able to build a lot of rapport with these families of each summer school kid, and it was nice to get to know them and build trust with those families. And then that would have been K2, and then the 3-5 was Christy, and she wrote, we had a ton of success in writing and fluency. I started with 10 kids, but toward the end, as attendance and stuff started to dwindle, I ended the year with 6. Students were able to fill the majority of their interactive notebooks with their learning, which was interesting because it's part of Avid. She used some Avid strategies there with those kids. And they loved working on their fluency by doing repeated readings to build reading skills. They tolerated the writing lessons. However, they improved their sentence structures, both in complexity and length, learning how to use the positives and develop the full paragraph by the end of the summer school session. So I think even though our numbers were on the lower end and we continued to struggle with that during the summer session, those teachers did a good job of filling the gap academically for those kids. How many high school kids do we have? Did they meet?
5 and 2 met.
What happens with the other 3?
And we
Credit retreat.
came back. So
They just, they'll make it up for the school year or.
yeah, we've done that already with sitting down, scheduling kids, grad coach, and looking at transcripts. And so if we did during periods for online credit retrieval this year, and so the schedule was built. Was to give the credit retrieval without missing. Before us. So yeah, the one it would be based on the, who's oldest that needs the most, going down to, okay, we want to fill up two. So, yeah, just to prioritize. People coming back.
We talk about shift made with credit retrieval to certify. You moved it from classified position to section.
Yeah, so I included it in, I consolidated the class, in the schedule. And we'll open this up next year for another class of science, for physical science, I was able to offer, freshman and sophomore biology, so the next year I can offer freshman and sophomore biology and physical science, which helps, kids be open to electives or balanced class loads. And then that opened up a space in that teacher's classroom to supervise and facilitate.
Both business 4.1 seismic upgrade change request. In their price release that one.
Yeah. So when they tore into the NPR, they realized real fast that we had a mess on our hands with the siding. All of the T111 siding on the above the apron, which is the center of the gym, was rotten on the bottom. In some places it was rotten 6-7 inches. In most places it was 2 or 3 inches. And so we went back to the drawing board and looked at our contingency amount of money. And contingency, where there was enough money in the contingency to request a change order and put new siding up. So what's interesting about that is that that was something they hadn't planned for. And then there were 3 other things that they hadn't planned for that were with water and condensation above the kitchen, had rotted some ceiling joists out, the big vent fan that's above The kitchen had rotted the whole ceiling out. So they had to tear into that and then replace ceiling joists, replace the plywood, and then they got to the gutters that are encased in the soffit. And the gutters, all are leaking at the seams, and we had rotten wood inside, all the way around the NPR in multiple places. So in retrospect, to do it right, they went ahead and pulled all that siding off, put new siding up. They had to replace those ceiling joists. And that put them back about 10 to 12 days worth of work. Or we would have been done last week with everything that we're doing. That's why the timeline's so tight. But I think it's amazing to me that the project, they've only been there for 10 weeks. And to do what they've done in 10 weeks truly is pretty remarkable. And, Corey, today we had our kind of our pre-punch walk today of the whole facility and talked a little bit about, how hard it really is to finish one of these projects in 10 weeks. And that, they're committed to having their contractors work through the weekend to finalize it and be ready for staff on Monday. And so I give them a huge shout out to the effort. And one thing that we really appreciate about Corey and Wynn Elder, which is he's the contractor, subcontractor that oversaw the project. They're real, and they want to do a bang up job. They don't cut corners on things. They see something that needs to be done, they address it, and it was really refreshing to work with people like that this summer.
So is this just a notification of this change?
We need to vote on it, I believe. Is that correct?
It's not adding to the contract.
Yeah. So maybe not. Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, 4.2.
Oh,
We're
boy.
in one for another.
Yeah, this
Number of bonds.
we're just kind of a big one. So hang with me, follow track, okay? So Pace and give him a fan.
Your oxygen rate.
So Pace Insurance is our conglomerate that insures our district. You guys all know that. They are a consortium that works with like 190 some school districts out of like 193. I think there's 3 or 4 districts that don't insure through Pace and through this conglomerate. They came out this summer with some of the older buildings collapsing around the state, like the North Bedford Gym, for instance, has given Pace Insurance a response. That's directly linked to if ceiling joists are 50 years old or older, that they're not gonna insure us. And so, which you can imagine how many buildings there are in school districts across the state that have ceiling joists that are 50 years or older. Now, there's an opportunity to add back to that for an additional fee. However, if it's not inspected and stamped with the liability of an engineering firm, if it collapses or fails, they won't cover you. And furthermore, the word on the street is that even though they haven't come right out and said it, the reality is there's probably going to be an amendment to their rule that includes blue lamps as well. So you think about our campus and you think about what we have. Our big gym has blue lamps. Our NPR does. Every one of these quads has blue lamps. So the additional need to have them engineered and added back in the insurance, if in fact they change the rule, could be just astronomical. There is some pressure politically across the state to, Pace knows that they can't put this back on school districts. The legislature knows that, hey, you know, we don't know how we're gonna be able to support school districts with failing buildings, but maybe at some point, there's some conversations around that, that eventually maybe they'll problem solve that. But in the meantime, we're kind of stuck in this gray area of what to do and how to handle our bus barn. And so, you know, and I reported to you several months ago when we tore that front plate off and that those ceiling joists were not even, they were suspended in the air. And 1 out of 4 or 5 of them was actually on the plate of the wall. And so today we just kind of had just a philosophy conversation with Corey and with Wynn about costs and the reality of with this new PACE insurance level or hurdle that we have to get over with that building. If we spend a ton of money on that building trying to shore it up, we still have an old building that probably would not pass an inspection for insurance. And you think about that building and all the contents and the things that we store in there. You know, eventually our type 20 buses, all of our lawn equipment, all of our tools, you know, tractors, there's all kinds of stuff that's worth a lot of money that we protect with that building. And so there was consensus of the group today and in the folks that know about that building, that have inspected it, worked on it, and including the engineering firm of ZCS from Stephen Davidson, that said, look, at some point, there's got to be a jumping off point for our school board to understand and recognize that that building's not worth fixing. And that even though we know there's emotional ties to it. It used to be an old gymnasium. You know, there's portions and remnants of that in there. If we were to tear it down and haul it to White City and probably have $60,000 in trucking to haul it down, maybe there's because of the old wood that's in that place, maybe we could have a you know, a historical group come in and that loves old reclaimed wood, because there are some big beams in that building that are pretty special. That could maybe offset some of the expense of taking it down. To rebuild, Corey's gonna put some numbers together. He just did an engineered prefab building that's 120 by, I think he said 60 wide. And it was pretty reasonable. And we could utilize the concrete pad. We would just have to pour some new footings where the posts go on the ground, and they could erect it right there and pretty much replace what we have in size for like money. Maybe even cheaper than having to repair the building as is, and knowing that siding, roofing, and the structural integrity of the ceiling joists and the joists that large span PACE is never going to insure. So it's just I just bring it to you. There's no action here. Just want us to think about it for a month and then come back and we'll talk a little bit about, as the fire hall gets done and they pull their folks out of there, and those doors, what we have for sliding doors continue to work. There's no 911 here, but as we start thinking about snow load and we think about shoring that building up for the winter so that it doesn't collapse and that we're covered with insurance, I think we need to consider a long-term plan to address that whole situation. So, Corey, you know, he's working numbers. I'll have numbers on a building for you next month. But I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not a ton of money. Like when I threw 400,000 out, he's like, oh no, way cheaper than that. And I threw out 200,000. He said probably in the ballpark, but it might even be cheaper than that. So because of the concrete. So, you know, maybe 150 grand potential minus the abatement of that building. So, and tearing it down. And, you know, I don't know what the community think about that. I mean, that's something that we have to be pretty tough to navigate also, but. You know, it's like the trees out here. They're beautiful until they're not. And there's a timeline, or kill a kid. And, you know, and so there's a timeline on everything and we're just really at the end of it with that building. And the thing that's interesting, that I find interesting about that building is that, and I mean, I think you guys all know this, but the amount of money that we protect with that shell is a ton with what we have stored in there. And so, and if it ever collapsed, then I can't even imagine.
So when you say the beams aren't attached, are they, is it because the building itself is settled that they're still attached to the cross? So so where your posts come up and the beam comes across them, is that where they're?
So they,
Apart, or
so
they just never attached, were they just free floating?
they're free floating. They were attached to the plate, but the wall comes up,
Right,
then the ceiling joist sits on the plate,
right.
okay? The wall has moved.
Right.
The ceiling, the building has shifted, and now they're not on the plate. And so 1 out of 4 or 5, there's at least 3 that they found that were completely
They aren't touching.
not touching at all. And so what's holding them up is the plywood on the ceiling that's all screwed together, and it's all kind of holding it up as we go. And you know, to rebuild that whole wall, you know, and so Wynn shared with us very frankly and candidly today about, you know, the liability that it would take to rebuild that. One, that it could kill some of his construction workers. The craneage, they'd have to have a crane, they'd have to have an inside, basically a cage when they're rebuilding it on the inside for fear that it would fall while they worked on it.
Yeah, they have.
That's how dangerous it is. And he has to sign off on it with liability that once they sure it up, that it's not gonna fall down again. And those joists, they're not insurable because they're older than 50 years old, for one. And two, if it ever does fall, you're still after spending 200,000 in trying to retrofit the building and make it safe, you still can't insure it. So it's a lose-lose situation that we're gonna have to create a plan for.
But we're insured right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that.
So like, when's our policy, like, when's our renewal?
Right now, we just renewed,
So we're good for
At least a year.
for a year. Well,
unless it collapses in December. You know, I mean, the snow load of that building is scary. You know, Wynn's like, I can't believe you have people in here. I mean, that seriously, he made that comment, especially in the winter, when there's snow. You put a foot of snow on top of that, it's pretty serious.
Is it done? I mean, okay, right,
It's not pitched, flat.
That's curved, I thought.
what?
What percent of pitch is it? A little bit. It's a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, so it's like a barn room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would they use?
Engineer, metal,
No, yeah.
steel, steel, you know, won't go bad.
Especially with all the others.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Right on here.
yeah,
So then what's the time frame for this project? Because it sounds like yesterday might be a little too late. Like, what is the actual
And where
time frame
does
we're
the
looking
money come?
at?
I mean, is there any kind of state funding, you know, that's something we have control over?
Yeah.
I mean, Butte Hall is gonna run into this, Shady Grove is gonna run into this, Deep Point gonna run into it, maybe not. Well,
most school districts, they're gonna have the same problem. Yeah,
Well, I just think that if you're gonna get pushback. You need to-
What's the chicken farm?
Who?
20 years.
That's true, they moved it.
Street like place. Oh.
I think I think it would be okay, people, I mean, you might have a few that chirp about it, but.
I think it's old enough, it would be different if it was.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's similar, you could have like plankton thing. You graduate from here, come get
Yeah.
your,
that's true.
you'll be a plank owner,
That's,
That's
yeah,
fine.
because I mean, a lot of the people honestly that probably,
Mm.
with the exception of you guys, that played in that gym, are a lot of them have passed away, though, I mean, in reality, a lot of people have passed away. I don't ever remember it being anything but a plus to me. So. Right.
Yeah, the hoop's still in there.
It's like last year, I just.
It's like a dad.
And there's wood floor in there too,
Yeah.
wood
Yeah.
floor in the upper part of it.
That's a good idea, with the plank thing, you know, make it.
Yeah, the stage, yeah.
I think what they did when they tore the high school down, was they cut up chalkboard, and everybody got.
Yeah.
Or any community event to do something like that, yeah.
I think if anybody thinks about it, they should block it.
I want to go for a tour, let's have your
Uh,
thoughts, please.
so,
It's like, this is kind
You know, to speak to your question or your comment, Josh, on timeline, if we're rolling the dice, we go through another winter with it, we're rolling the dice. It's there's a risk involved there. How big of one, I think is pretty significant, but if we have another light winter, we'll be fine to get through the winter on it. But if we get a foot and a half of snow, it could be a different deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, so, but I think it's something that we need to address within a year, a calendar year.
In fact, me isn't necessarily like a building, this insurance possible, what did insurance go up and we add the rider on top of that,
Yep.
we're just throwing money away just to maintain those.
Yeah, and then with the.
Without just the cost of.
They take our
And
insurance.
then let's keep fingers crossed that if they don't come up with some type of an agreement for support from the state to address buildings that have blue lambs, districts are gonna be broke. I mean, seriously, I mean, every building here has got glue lamps in it that are 50 years old or older. And the big gym, I mean, those lambs are huge. And so,
That's right new. right?
no,
They just-
no, the blue lamps that go,
But it is attachment.
the attachments are, but not the dome lambs.
So we got to.
So they.
Yeah.
They did on the plates,
Yeah, but our
but-
buildings also.
but it's the span,
Our gyms don't.
Yeah.
it's the span.
They were separating, they were splitting, and they bolted it back together.
Yeah, yeah,
But wouldn't that be engineered?
they would have to be engineered before
Because
you,
they've gone through the engineering within the last 10 years, that should be okay.
maybe,
These ones, type thing.
yeah. We don't know, I mean, who knows what they're gonna develop as the rules.
Medford Gym.
We did,
Put a whole big.
Yeah.
it did, but that was like one of like 4 or 5 incidents across the state this last year.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's a hot topic, for insurance writers right now. So,
Well,
and I will tell you, Stephen today said straight up, signing liability off on old buildings that's a lose-lose situation for engineering firms. Even though they stamp it and say, oh, we're good to go. You know, a lot of times they don't know what the longevity of wood's going to be based on load and age and seismic activity contributing to moving buildings. I mean, there's a variety of a lot of things that need to be considered before an engineering firm is gonna sign off and give a rubber stamp on a building.
So is there any, just thinking aloud, when seismic comes up again? And we're flyers, that's what we do anyway, to help. Would that building ever be considered for it, because it's not an occupied building, correct? So
It's not structural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not structural.
I
Yeah,
guess it's not.
go from there. Yeah, the good thing is if the decision is to take it down, there's a footprint there. And that footprint is worth a pile of money. I mean, can you imagine having to pour an 8-inch slab that size on top of everything else? The footprint's there for it, so it would go, an engineered metal building would go up really fast and really cut down on the cost of having to do it from scratch. Yeah.
You're really looking at the same cost.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I want you to see.
She's thinking. The same expense, mothball that, move everything over
Can we
there.
park our buses over there?
Yep, we'll park everything over there.
It's only twice the size.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't have to do a whole lot.
oh, twice the size, it's like 4 times the size.
No, way bigger.
That's $700,000. This is $100,000. $300,000.
Well, if you were gonna remodel it, but if you were just gonna use it for storage, you'd probably get it for $175,000.
They get the.
I'm waiting for Ray to make them.
Bill.
Ray's concerning actually for now. Conserving
You can use that for storage now, then take that down. Build it, make that storage.
Yep.
And then. Process of the.
So,
Then make that. And it's not gonna have glue on it.
No, it's metal.
You're never gonna-
well, it sounds like Ray talked about cell phones.
Yeah,
Way.
So we're gonna talk about cell phones. Ray's getting hot.
you want me to move on? Okay. So as you guys know, the executive order from the governor has come down about the cell phone ban. We talked about it a little bit last month. I got a little bit heated about, as I was sharing my own personal bias concerning this. The reality is that this is happening and we're gonna have to embrace it. And there's some things about the cell phone executive order that don't make sense in my mind. One is that, you know, they wrote the executive order in such a manner that it covers the instructional hours. So kids that are on buses outside of the instructional hours can use their cell phones. However, we have so many kids that get on a bus at 2 o'clock. And so from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, the coach that's on the bus has to confiscate cell phones and give the cell phones back to kids after 4 o'clock. There's some things that just don't make sense on it. There's gonna be some amendments to the rule. I will tell you that there are, the governor's office is filled up with thousands of calls from school administrators and school districts trying to, figure out what's the best way to do this. There's really 2 paths. The one path is we rush and put this in place come the first day of school. And we implement this, even though we don't have a policy yet, and it won't be approved by the first of school, from the school board. And then there's the other path is that we go through the process, October 31st is the deadline to adopt policy. With a second reading, and we adopt policy. And then January 1st is the implementation. It gives us a couple of months to really communicate with parents and really work towards the process of what this looks like and what this means. And we don't have to make 5 changes based on what we think the policy is going to be. We wait until the policy is developed, and then we spend the time trying to implement it effectively because the policy is put in place. And that's the path that is our recommendation to the board is that we'll follow the process, October 31st. We'll finalize and we'll get a second reading of the policy. The policy should be released from OSBA next week. So what is in your hands is a draft. That only the superintendent's got. It has not been released to the public. I don't think it matters really. It's just, it hasn't had the rubber stamp from OSBA. And that's gonna come out next week with options. So Josh and I talked and we just think we ought to just submit it as a first reading, but we don't mark it up until we get the policy from OSBA, and next month we can mark it up and we can do a second reading, and then we'll have it put in place. We've already adjusted our handbooks, sharing that there's policy coming, so there'll be an amendment to our handbooks around cell phone use, and we'll develop the rules accordingly. So does that make sense?
Do we need to read it or we're ready?
Yeah, gonna make it the first reading, so we can go through it and modify and edit it. But it's got areas that are choices. Right? And if we change the phone, we just can't use the phone. But that's it.
I don't think you wanna mark it up, and if you don't wanna, if you feel like you have to mark it up to make it a first reading, I would just wait until we get the policy next week. But that puts a timeline on us, I will say.
So do you want to table it?
I still think they count the first reading. Out here, we know about it there. Next month, we mark it up, we finalize in October.
Readings are intended to be, this is what your policy is going to be.
And that's what we're looking at right now.
No, it's not. Because it says right here, first line, student possession, use,
Okay, so then.
there are
first reading,
things
not- I
within
think
this
This
that
should
should
be,
be edited out if that's not the way we want to do it.
and I think this is just notification of any policy for the first reading next month.
Like, you know, read that.
And it still follows the standard that we do this month, we do September, we finalize in October.
Yeah,
Okay, I second.
I was just trying to get you something early.
I think it's good. I think it's good on the agenda that people actually look and see on the agenda what we're doing, we're talking about stuff there. It doesn't hurt. I think even when it comes to school, the soft start at school, like, hey, phones are out, link to lines, school board's passing policy, phone's gonna go away. That constant reminder to stop. No conversation, next on Monday, no phone.
Yeah,
Right.
we're working on a parent survey too. So we're gonna send the parent survey out, as soon as we get the policy, we'll send the parent survey out, kind of garner some information from our community too. We'll bring that back to you.
We could always find a conservative judge to file a suit and get a stay.
Remember, we're being recorded.
Parents get together and find.
I think it's slow enough, it's almost like change comes to recognize more change there. And we can change it in the classroom. Than necessarily the teachers or parents involved with stuff. Because it's already, you're in a condition to people that. Condition of classroom. 5.2 in books.
It's in your packet. I will tell you that I feel like our handbooks are clunky. But we've gone through them and they cover a lot of stuff. However, for next year, I think it would be good if we completely retooled our handbooks. Yeah, we'll make an amendment to it, but they're just clunky. Everybody has thrown a hodgepodge of stuff over the years, and it's been coupled through 7 different generations of administration, and I think we can take that information and make it a little bit more user friendly and rewrite the entire handbook collection. Not so much staff handbook, but the student handbooks.
was in there.
Probably,
And they just changed.
and then they add stuff and it doesn't fit, yeah, it just doesn't flow. So,
Your motion to adopt the handbook.
So moved.
Question, comments on? You know, well, start with me, I vote yes. Mr. Baker, Ms. Greenwald.
Yeah.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
New business 5.3, House Bill.
okay, so House Bill 2453, is a shift from originally from Senate Bill 732 that came through the legislature, via the governor to require school districts to have a district equity committee. Our response to that was putting together name, strength, and need advisory in some role here at school, at least quarterly. And then to come back is basically, it's advised, under Senate Bill 732, the committee advised the school board on equity. So they would have had to come this year and share with you, what the equity committee is working on. It would have been subject to public meeting requirements. It was recorded. It had to be approved by the board. Let's see, what else was there? And then all districts required their own committee. So in an attempt to make this, I don't know if this is the right word or not, but a little less political because of the political climate coming out of Washington DC. House Bill 2453 made a shift from Senate Bill 732 to say, okay, now district equity committees need to come under the superintendent, because once it becomes public meeting law, once it becomes a school board's jurisdiction, once it becomes reported as a true meeting, then it's subject to political jurisdiction to argue about. And in this case, could be funded because it's linked to Washington DC if you don't comply with it, because it's attached to DEI policies across the state. And so what I'm sharing with you is there's no action needed. It's just information to let you know that quarterly we will couple our equity committee, our name, strength, and need advisory council and combine that as a standing agenda item 4 times this year with our leadership group, and Regina will be heading that up and ensuring that we're complying on it. And then I will at some point in my report out on what we're doing. We use an equity lens anyways. I mean, all of our kids have special needs. All of our families have special needs, not in a special ed kind of framework, but everybody's different. And so looking through that lens is healthy. Like, what does this kid need versus what does that kid need based on their need? And that's really what it is. And it won't be more than that under my leadership. So, sound good?
Keep us off the radar.
Yeah, we don't want to be on the front page.
No.
And 5.4, the board park business.
Yeah, just instead of doing a retreat, kind of came up with this idea that because we started so early and we had seismic going on, there was so much happening here. It just made sense, being this 4th year, to tackle the board operating agreement, our goal review, and then take a look at our comprehensive planning template over breakfast one morning. We can talk about the direction of the district. If you guys, if any of you are interested in coming to in-service, I'm going to talk for about 45 minutes to an hour on Monday, and that starts at noon. You're more than welcome to come and hear my presentation about the direction of the district, and, I'm pretty fired up and excited about it. It's gonna be fun. And it'll be interactive, and, we'll spend some time talking about, the comprehensive planning template without showing them the template. We're gonna give them the pieces of the template and how, we can, collectively, move forward as a district, knowing that we're gonna comprehensive plan around these 5 things. And how that ties into district board goals. So
So are you having the breakfast here or are we meeting?
it'll be here, yeah, it'll be catered, we'll have it here. Or we'll bring breakfast or something. I don't know.
I already have my.
When do we need to solidify that date? Because should we solidify now or just solidify like?
We can solidify it now if you guys can come. And that's the date that we have, 8 o'clock in the morning.
CPR training.
You gotta go to all those?
No, I'm gonna make sure that people on campus are.
That's this month,
This month,
19th of September.
this is the 19th.
Of
Hey,
September.
don't worry, I did the exact same thing.
Trying to give you some head time, some lead time.
So it's gonna start at 8,
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
yeah, and. Not in the holidays.
No, a couple hours.
So if I can do that, because I don't have to be at school until.
Yeah, I would expect that we would be done by 10:30. By the time we eat for half an hour, and we spend a couple hours together, that's plenty.
Well, I'll just leave it alone.
Okay.
I have to go to work.
Can't get enough much longer than I'll run out of oxygen.
I'm just tentative that date, that might be.
Okay, well, I hope you're not. Hope you're here. Fingers crossed.
So you're gonna.
Do we, is there a better date? I mean, I'm not set on the 19th
So that's my question, like, when do you want to set that date?
today,
Did you
but,
miss that?
but if we need to send out a group text,
Because
or
like
an
the
email.
12th, I don't work, so.
on a different date,
If there's something else going on that day. then-
Well, to be a great, like, organizer, make me here anyway.
we don't wanna
Well, I
do
got
it,
guilty over there.
we don't wanna do
So I
it on
get to
Cycle
check.
Oregon, there's too many things there.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we moved it later, excuse me.
Well, if, I mean, I can be. cool, so.
The 26th, I can remember today.
Nope, I can't do. Oh, well, if it's at 8 o'clock, yeah.
No. Just give me the 30 go.
We'll do a fire drill.
We can keep playing that.
day.
But I just may not, I mean, I'm hoping to get out of the arbitration anyway. So.
It's a month away.
So we have some time, if we need to move it, we will, I think it's important that all of you are there. So,
Well, I will do my best, but when we're getting midnight, 8 o'clock.
I know, that's hard.
It would be on a Friday regardless, so those are the 19th and the 20th, Fridays.
I mean, I can make.
Yeah.
that, but I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I cut down all the grass, you can't go out there and take a nap.
What we got?
Hopefully by then,
It should
actually,
be better.
hopefully
It should
by
be after Labor Day.
it's after Labor Day, so maybe I won't be on. I've already figured out.
It might not.
The upcoming dates, we have a whole bunch of them coming up.
Open house is September 17th, it's not on the list, because we'll have another, board meeting before then, but you might ink that in your calendar right now, September 17th.
The Wednesday, right?
Yeah, from 5:30, we'll have tacos from 5:30 to 7.
Football field or?
We haven't made that decision yet. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of people really loved it over there. Some people really loved it over here because it's more communal here. Yeah, Greg threatened to quit when I told him we were gonna have open house the first day of school, so.
Oh, so that got changed.
So we changed it. No, we couldn't get the taco truck. We had a bunch of fixed dates. They've had a bunch of fixed dates, so we had to find a date that worked for us and
5:30.
5:30.
Is it Casa Amigo?
Yeah, Casa Amigo.
Midnight Rivers.
You could do Jose.
What day is that? Gabriel?
Seventeenth.
Oh, that's right.
To Wednesday.
Okay, with that,
She's the one that gave you,
Casa Amiga did?
oh, Jose.
Oh, Jose's.
Stay out before, her sister has.
Where's she at?
Usually she's in her little red taco tent behind the library, like RCC.
Oh, Does she do big group catering? Oh. Well, maybe we ought to try her next time.
so at 7:15, we'll adjourn.
Let's see how we do. Oh, well, I still have 2 months left.
Don't tell that, he'll use them.
She's like, "Cut it off." We threw that one in, but